right, welcome to the Wiley Manager Crash Course. And this week's podcast, Bob, we were talking about work-life balance. And you had, I think it was the top 10 list again, in terms of ways that you can battle or get control of your work-life balance.
Yeah, I'm a pretty linear thinker, so 10 things works well for me. So
now, in the full-length version of us, we get into these in a lot more detail. But in the Crash Course, maybe we should just introduce folks to what those 10 things were.
Sure. And just very quickly, the other things we do talk about is that why I think a lot of the stuff you normally hear about work-life balance is BS, right? So,
Right.
Take that for whatever it's worth. But here are your top 10 things that you can do right now
right.
to improve your work-life balance. And very quickly. Number one, don't be a perfectionist. Number one enemy of getting things done is trying to get everything 100% right. Mm-hmm. Number two is disconnect. Okay, so this is when I actually suggest, God forbid, you put your BlackBerry on stun for some period of time, like, when you're at your kid's soccer game.
Turn it off.
Yeah, or when you're out for dinner. You actually don't have to be connected at all time. Now, I suppose if you're on call for the launching of the space shuttle, that maybe there's an exception. But for the vast majority of us, we should be able to disconnect.
Yep.
The third one is to say no. Interesting concept, don't you think? Is that you don't actually have to do everything that comes across your desk. So, and we talk about some mechanisms by which you would actually say no. Fourth is you want to minimize and mitigate drive-bys. This is particularly bad in open office concepts, right? Yeah. Where, it seems to be a free-for-all a lot of the time. The worst enemy of productivity is the cubicle, right? So we talk about some things that you can minimize and mitigate those drive-bys that happen when you're in one of those settings. Number 5 is to delegate. What do you know? Give other people stuff to do too. And we've talked about that in other podcasts as well, Jed. Mm-hmm. Number 6, reel back your expectations.
If all else fails, lower your expectations.
Here's the Wiley Manager guys coming up to tell you to scale back your expectations. But in all seriousness, we're taught by society that you can have it all, and a lot of times you just can't. Yeah. You can't be super parent and have all this quality time with your kids and also work 80 hours a week and be on the board of this and that and the other thing. People will tell you that you can, but they're actually lying. So we'll talk about those liars and what actually should be happening. Number 7, very closely related to that, is don't think that you're indispensable. Okay, so a lot of times people delude themselves into thinking, well, only I can do that, right? Mm-hmm. Well, actually, no, you can't. Number 8, block your time. So I'm suggesting that, again, when you're at your kid's soccer game, be 100% at your kid's soccer game. Right. Okay. Don't be multitasking is the enemy of work-life balance. So block your time out. Be very clear when you're available and when you're not. Number 9, indulge in some small pleasure daily. Well, that could kind of mean anything, couldn't it, Jed? Yeah. What I'm talking about is that it's actually good to get up out of your desk and go downstairs to Starbucks and sit for 15 minutes. That will actually enhance your productivity. Okay. Or if it's going for a walk at lunchtime, whatever the case may be, figure out what suits you and try to do that thing. And number 10, blinding flash of the obvious, you got to be disciplined. Mm-hmm. Right? So a lot of people whinge about work-life balance, and we find that they're actually just not all that disciplined about getting it done. So we talk about some of the things you can do to try to be more disciplined. And there you have, Jed, the top 10 things you can do right now to improve your work-life balance.
All right, and to hear more and to listen to the full-length version of that podcast from Wiley Manager, you can pick that off of our site, wileymanager.com, or you can find us on iTunes. Thanks, Bob.
We'll see you again.